Now let's talk about how to actually bow on the violin. Now you're going to be just doing what I call open strings, which means you're not going to be using any of your left hand fingers. So feel free to hold the violin with your left hand underneath this bout right here. Now we're going to place the bow on the string, and we're going to aim for placing it right here in the middle of the bow, or kind of wherever that natural L shape is for you. And you want to try to aim always for starting here in the middle as you're starting off and kind of just staying in this middle portion of the bow. Things are going to change with what you do with your arm and what you do with your bow hand as you get up here in the upper half or the lower half. There's different things going on, so it's good to just start with this middle portion and kind of get the basics down before you move to the upper half or lower half. So you're going to put the bow on the string in the middle, and let's start with the G string. So rest it on the G string, and you're kind of double checking that you've got this nice straight wrist, your elbow's up. You don't want your elbow down like this. Your elbow's pretty much even with your wrist. And now I want you to just move your bow down. So it's not really down this way, but kind of down or towards the screen. That's called a down bow. And stop the bow. Okay. Now move it the opposite direction where the tip's going more up. And that's called an up bow. The good news is the bow should technically only move in two directions, down or up. So that's one good thing you've got going for you. So now do that a couple times, and I want you to actually stop the bow after the down bow and after the up bow. Then go to the D string and just pivot your elbow down. Let's try it again. You can do that several times and keep trying the different strings. You can pivot your arm down to the A string, pivot down to the E string. So a couple things are going on here. First of all, the strings, you can look and see that they are different thicknesses. So you actually need to use quite a bit more bow weight, and that's the relaxed weight of your shoulder transferred through your fingers into the bow. You need more of that on the thicker strings to get a good sound, and less of it on the thinner strings. So on the G string, you can put quite a bit of weight to get it to speak, and then as you move towards the E string, progressively less weight. Now let's talk about how to keep your bow straight while you're doing this. When you're trying to keep your bow straight, there's actually some optical illusions going on. If you're just looking over to your left and trying to see if your bow is straight, what you see is always going to lie to you because it's kind of an optical illusion. For instance, I know just looking that looks pretty straight with my bow and my bridge, but I know from experience that it's not straight at all, and you can easily tell. Do you see how much of an angle that is? So what you have to do is you have to practice looking in a mirror to see if your bow is straight. And when you're doing this practice, what you want to do is adjust your body to where you just see the top line of the bridge in the mirror. If you can see part of the bridge, the side like this, it's going to give you the same misinformation because your bow might look straight, but it's actually at an angle. So you've got to adjust yourself so you just see that top line. And now you can really tell when your bow is straight and when it's at an angle. Now you want to practice doing just those open strings. Down bow, stop, up bow, stop. And what I want you to do is I don't want you to just stare at the mirror or stare at the screen if you're using a screen to do this, because what you're going to end up doing is just chasing the bow around, and it can be very frustrating. So what you want to do is get your bow straight to start with, and then look away. Don't even look at the violin. Just move your bow down, and then stop and look and correct for any adjustments. So let me do that again. I'm going to do something intentionally wrong. Okay, I can tell that I was actually going to the left way too much with my hand. So I'm going to do it again, and I know I need to kind of not go so much to the left. There we go. That was pretty good. And you'll do the same thing with the up bow. You need to do that a lot to really develop the muscle memory that you need to keep your bow straight. And I promise eventually if you do this enough, you're going to automatically feel when your bow probably isn't straight. All right, so you want to practice this several minutes every single day. One more little caveat is to think about where your violin is, because that's going to make a difference when it comes to keeping the bow straight. So remember, you want your violin kind of pretty much pointing in the same direction as if you stretched out your arm. If your violin is more inside of your body, inside of this box, then this is not going to work. Even if your bow is straight, you're kind of cramped. You're working inside this really small area. You're not going to be able to keep your bow straight the way you want it to. So push your violin back, get it high up on your shoulder, and then try this exercise. So do that a lot before you try to start adding left-hand fingers with the bow, which is what we'll talk about next.